You are listening to
The Free Amigos.
Hey, I'm Casper.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Tony. Episode 4 today, with myself, Mark, down in Langley in Berkshire, and Casper all the way over on his tropical island of Lombok in Indonesia. How you doing there, Casper? How you doing there, Mark?
All good, yeah.
Yeah.
Still in lockdown, need a haircut, but apart from that, surviving. That's the main thing.
Yeah, luckily you can't see all my grey bits. Yes. Well, Casper's hair is always looking
hair's
fabulous
always
anyway,
good.
isn't it? So.
I can't even find my hat. I was looking for my cap actually, and I was like, but no, okay, just do it like that.
Ponytail, get a ponytail.
I've been there before, mate. Been there before.
You're looking good, dude. You're looking good. Right then, Casper, today it's you. The spotlight's on you today, my friend. I hope you're ready.
Absolutely.
We're gonna dive deep into the full-time traveller
Right.
that we know you as. So I'm going to hand over to Mark, as he's going to kick us off with some. We're going to get deep into your story today. Well, as much as we can into an hour. So let's commence then, Mark. I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, been looking forward to this one. Obviously, Casper's got a very interesting story, and as you say, we're going to struggle to fit it into one pod, so this might well be over a series, but we'll try and cover the main points. I think,
Yes.
when you talk about the full-time traveller, obviously Casper's gone and done something that I think a lot of people would like to do, a lot of people talk about, and that is to just leave everything behind and just get travelling, just seeing the world. A lot of people with their full-time jobs, like me, try and cram these things into 2 or 3 weeks a year, and there's only so much you can do. When you actually start travelling, especially on your own, you build up a wealth of experiences, and that's why Casper in particular has got so much to talk about, and he's written a book off the back of it as well. But I suppose let's just start at the start. Yeah. So what was it in your early life that led up to this point where you decided to leave everything behind? You had what sounds like a great life in Holland, but what was it that led up to that point where you decided, I can't do this anymore, I need to move, I need to break away from this?
So yeah, basically what happened is that I yes, I did have a perfect life. I had everything that you want to have, and when I think about it now, in retrospect, I still miss it sometimes. Actually, beautiful apartment, lovely girlfriend, dog, big television, and a lovely couch, and so I had everything. Yeah, I mean, that is my perfect Sundays, waking up with like a proper espresso machine, all the luxury I had. And what happened was, I think that something just grew within me, which actually already started at childhood. Like, I had the feeling there's something more in this life. I had this fundamental feeling there's something off, basically. There's something that I can do or see and nobody told me about. And so I was basically, I think that was what happened, is that I started thinking about that, and when my life fell to pieces, and I can explain later, but when my life really fell to pieces, my family actually is a family of travelers. So they took me, my dad says, hey, let's go to Australia. My brother says, come to Switzerland. And so they kind of threw me back into the big old world. And because of my personal life fell apart, as in I lost my girlfriend, lost my dog, lost my house, I couldn't pay the rent. After I traveled to Australia with my dad on a holiday, and when I was with my brother in Switzerland on a holiday, amazing time, but when I got back to Amsterdam and I found this new little apartment and the windows couldn't even open, I was just feeling like, I don't know what's going on here, but something is really wrong and I'm not going to spend my time here. It was just definite, I'm not going to spend my time here. I'm going.
Did it make you feel trapped?
I felt so trapped. I felt, well, if you can't even, especially when so what happened, of course, is that I was riding a horse in Australia and going to farms and learning about bushfires, and then I went to my brother's and we jumped off bridges and we were canyoning and mountain biking, and then suddenly I was back in this little apartment because I didn't have any money anymore. Like I said, I lost almost everything, and so Then I had to kind of like restart everything. So this little apartment, I need to put a new floor in there. I need to build a new kitchen in there. I need to buy a new bed. I only got 6,000 euros left on my bank account, and I'm not going to spend that into this stupid apartment where the windows can't even open. Let's spend those 6,000 euros wisely. And let's go back to where I left, and that was, like I said, horse riding in the Northern Territory in Australia. Let's go back there. With the 6,000 euros, I can buy a lot of cans of baked beans, and I can have a proper life with freedom. So that was the basic first start of literally packing my bags and go away.
So it's in your blood, really. This whole traveling lifestyle. Your whole family have done that or do that, live a life like that. Would you say?
Well, yes and no. Of course, that they. So my mom is a good traveler. She's a good backpacker, as in, well, not a backpacker as a 19-year-old because she's over 70, but she knows how to walk. She knows how to carry her own stuff on her back. And my brother moved to Switzerland because he's a proper mountaineer as well. My dad used to be a documentary maker, so he traveled all over Europe, especially with his motorbike, making documentaries about wars and about crusades and all kinds of things. So yes, we have like an adventurous spirit there, but we were all still living in our little houses. We were still, actually, that was more like holiday getaways, like short periods of getting out, and then come back to your house and to your comfort zone, basically, there. And I couldn't find that comfort zone, that ground zero from where I could just say, this is going to be my life, and from here on I can explore left and right and up and center. That's why I said, I'm just going. But what I did first, and I want to explain that, is that it wasn't like one moment when I went like, okay, I'm going to sell everything and I'm going to go. No, the first thing I did was, of course, I quit my rent, and I couldn't even sell a house because I didn't own a house. But so I quit my rent and I put all my stuff, everything that was me, and I thought was me. All my instruments, all my computers, hard drives, plans, paintings, everything that I gathered as being me, I put that in a storage. And when I started traveling after 6 months, I realized I was running out of money. But I was paying 200 euros a month for a storage of stuff that I was not using. That was the moment I thought, maybe I should just get rid of it. Because there was stuff in that storage. I couldn't even remember what was in there. I couldn't remember what was in the storage. But I was paying 200 euros a month for that. With that 200 euros, again, I could buy a lot of baked beans and ride a horse until... So that was kind of... And I went back, of course, after my first journey, I went back to Europe and I sold everything. Oh, actually, I couldn't sell it at that moment because I didn't want to sell it. I gave it away. And I think that was one of my favorite things ever. I gave everything away, and so all my clothes. I used to be a big fan of I used to be a t-shirt collector. I had hundreds of t-shirts with nice prints and everything. And a friend of mine came and he said, well, he was from Africa, and he said, it's Christmas, can you donate something? I said, you know what? Here you go. And I visited him and I gave him 2 massive, massive duffel bags full of t-shirts, over 200 t-shirts, to send back to his family in Africa. And I got one picture back of the whole tribe sitting there, like, I think it was like 100 people sitting there, and they were all wearing my t-shirts. And that felt good. That felt just really good. It was like, yeah, okay, done my thing. Everything is gone, and I can go back on the road. That's how it started.
They've gone to a good home. That's nice. That's a nice story, that, Casper.
Awesome. Yeah. So it was more of a gradual thing. It wasn't like, because I want to go back to what you said there about kind of life fell apart, and I know you kind of had a similar journey to me in that you were in television or advertising as I was, and what led me to kind of start on this new journey is because I kind of saw through it, you know. And we talked about this a couple of times, is, you know, selling these products that no one really needs. You know what I mean? They're thinking it's so important, and getting wrapped up in these companies or agencies and just thinking that it's the end of the world if a product doesn't sell, but eventually seeing through it and wanting something more from life. So what was it then that, when you say your life fell apart, what was it there that fell apart, and what was your feeling around that time?
To be honest, yes, I always say my life fell apart because that's the practical things. Like I said, my girlfriend broke up and we used to pay the rent together. Now she wasn't paying her part of the rent, so I couldn't pay the rent, so I had to move, etc. There's the practical things. I was just going from where I was, go down, 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 down. But to be honest, after all those years, it's been 7 years ago now, I never really understood. Well, I do understand a little bit now, but my life wasn't really falling apart. It was just pushing me into a direction. It was pushing me into the right direction that I had to go, and I was fighting that direction. It was kind of my life saying, yeah, this is all good, so you've managed to achieve this, really, really nice, good on you, but it's time to get back on the road. It's time to be inspired and inspire other people. And I was just afraid, of course. And I was holding on to that old life. I was holding on to those simple questions. If you're going to travel, where are you going to get your money from? If you're used to selling stuff to, what we talked about earlier, we're selling stuff to people, that's never bite the hand that feeds you. So I couldn't really make the decision until life just kept on pushing me down and kept on pushing me down. And that's what I say, is like, it was pushing me into the right direction. And yes, it went with a massive struggle from my side. Massive, massive struggle. And the simplest thing is that this was such a conflict I had, holding on, clinging on to everything that I believed in, because this is how I grew up, and this is what I was supposed to do. And kicking me into the unknown, I didn't even want to go there. Or did I? I don't know. I'm just afraid. And so this is such an internal struggle that I was, in the end, suicidal. And in the end, I was like, it was more panicking, like, let me jump off a bridge, let me sleep forever. I didn't want to die, I just want to sleep. Just pause everything, pause the world. I don't know what's going on, pause it. Let me just jump off a bridge, die, and I maybe come back or whatsoever, I don't know. But just make it stop. Is this an external dialogue or an internal dialogue? Or is this the universe talking to me, or is this me talking to me? These things I couldn't figure out. And so the beautiful thing, of course, in the end was that what I said, I called my brother. I said, I don't know what's going on here. I wake up with suicidal thoughts. And I don't understand that because I'm a happy chap. I'm a happy person. But I'm just panicking. I want to jump off a bridge. And my brother, clever enough as he is, he said, if you jump off a bridge, make sure you jump off a nice bridge. I'll get you one. And I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, I want to jump off a nice bridge. And so a nice bridge with a beautiful surrounding. I mean, if you jump off a bridge, don't do it over an ugly steel structure where everyone is just going on their commute and no one really cares about that someone is jumping off. No, jump off a bridge that is overspanning the Alps with a little river. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump off that bridge. Whatever bridge you're going to give me, I'm going to jump off that bridge because that's what we need to do. So now, suddenly, and this is not a metaphor, this is literally my thoughts, this is literally what's going on. Now, I was going to jump off a bridge and I was going to love it. It's going to change my life now. That's good. And I'm going to survive it.
A survivor.
And I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be so scared. And yes, it was a bridge. It was 18 meters high. And I can tell you, that's high. And I just got onto the rim and I jumped off. I didn't jump off like leap off. No, I jumped up and down. I gave it an extra 2 meters.
You jumped, you didn't fall.
Because no, I didn't just, no. Give me life, because that was the whole thing about it. That was the whole thing. Is that it was not. I wasn't suicidal because I wanted to die. No, I was suicidal because I wanted to live. I wanted to feel life again. And so yes, that was the struggle, falling down within the society that I grew up in. But that bridge jump I will never forget, and I do it still ceremonially. I go every year. I jump off a bridge, or I jump off a cliff, just because I can.
That's amazing. Where was that bridge? Just out of interest.
So, I was going to say, let me need to go into this a little bit more. There's a lot of questions around that.
So that bridge is in Ticino. Is one of the most beautiful places on this planet. It's on the Italian side of the Alps, but it's still Switzerland. So you got best of both worlds there. And the story behind the bridge is that it is an old Roman bridge. It's got beautiful arches. It's one of those really beautiful cobblestone kind of arches bridge. And the story is that the Romans used to jump off there to show their courage.
And obviously, you're jumping into a river,
a stream.
So it's 18 meters high.
You jump into water. Yeah, you jump into
Not
water.
just into a valley.
Let's clarify that.
No, that was just a big pillow.
18 meters is still.
No, you jump into the brightest, clearest, coldest mountain water. The water comes straight from the glaciers, and all the stones around it are rounded for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. And you jump back into nature and you get this cold wash. And because everyone knows that this jump is not an easy jump. I mean, people sometimes stand there for half an hour going, I can't do it. But people are next to that little river that you can see below you. You can see the river, of course, and you can see the people sitting on those stones or laying on a towel. And when someone jumps, it's a spectacle for everyone. Because they are underwater for such a long time. Because you go really deep, you've got so much velocity, and you go down, and the moment when you come up, and what I did as well, you stay underwater as long as you can.
Re-energizes you.
And then you come up. And everyone's applauding it. You did it! And the first thing you do is, I'm gonna do it again! I'm alive! I love this!
Yeah. It sounds almost like a ceremonial thing. You know, this is something you get with when you take these plant medicines. People go over to Peru and it's they're in a terrible state. They might be suicidal, depressed, and they go over there and they come back a different person. And it's not because they've died physically. It's because they had an ego death. They've shed layers and layers and layers to get back to the truth of who they really are. You know, and that's it. It's like it's an ego death is what, and the same thing for me is what I've experienced, you know. But when we talk about mental health problems, I think it's a death of the old person and a kind of rebirth, but it's going on internally, you know. And I think that's what a lot of mental health issues are about. You know, it's this death of the old, and you know, you just got to see it through to wait for that new you to come through.
Isn't that why I say? That's why I call it suicide. It's suicide of the ego. It's suicide of everything I know that I am. I wanted to get rid of everything that I know that I am. But what's left there? It's just definitions of ego, basically. Well, I didn't know that, of course, back then, but that's exactly what I meant, indeed. It is, how can you kill the ego if the ego is all that you have? If you don't know anything more, it's suicide. But that's why I knew I want to die, but I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I want to kill myself, but I don't want to kill myself.
Yeah.
That is the thing, yeah.
And this is the thing in the West, this is the amazing thing about traveling, is you learn these things, but we are so attached to our minds, so attached to our egos, that we think we are our minds and our egos, you know. And that's why we're so scared of death, I think, is because what dies is what you've accumulated in life, which is your mind, which is your ego. And what carries on is the real you. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with necessarily. It's something you can understand with deep meditation or plant medicine, but it's an amazing story. But then if we move on then, because we've done half the pod already, but 7 years of traveling then, becoming the full-time traveler, you are now. So just talk us through a quick overhead sort of summary of what countries you visited in those time, and then there's a couple of incidents in these 7 years that I want to go into a little bit deeper. But so where did you start off after that?
So my first start after that apartment, the Baker, where the windows didn't open, I went back to Australia. And in Australia, I said, I didn't know why I was going there. I took a one-way trip there. I literally just booked a one-way ticket. And I was just going, I don't know what's going to go. I don't know where I'm going to end up. But everything is better than where I am now. And so, yes, I did the desert crossing of Australia, 6 months through the desert, 4.5 months of that completely in isolation, just me. Then I went back to Indonesia. Found a tribe there, then I ran out of money, had to go back to Europe, stayed in Europe for a couple of months, but it became more difficult to stay in Europe. And actually, then I started going, like, ping-ponging all over the world, basically. So I went back to Japan then, and from Japan I went to Hong Kong to Thailand, back to Europe, back to Thailand, back to Indonesia, back to Thailand, back to Hong Kong.
Pinball machine.
Yeah, like a pinball machine, but that's just traveling. That's just traveling. And then I went into Laos. From Laos, I went back into Thailand, and so every place I was, I had a project. I built a library here, or I gave lectures there, or I had something to find there, and someone. It was not up to me, but you go to a place because there's a reason that you go to that place, and you don't know the reason until you're there, or sometimes you don't even know the reason months after you were there. And so then in the end I went to South Africa, and from Cape Town basically. I was always been fascinated by the great explorers of our last century, no, the century before, the 19th century especially, the Livingstons. And so I said, I'm going to hitchhike my way up. And so this is one of the things when I travel, I don't have a lot of money. So I have to travel with what is there. It's not, I'm not living in resorts or whatsoever. I'm just, okay, I have to hitchhike my way up. And people say to me, like, you can't hitchhike your way through Africa. It's way too dangerous. I said, well, I don't have any other options. I don't have money to buy a bus pass. I'm just going to hitchhike. And then I'm going to try to go as far north as I can. I want to reach Lake Malawi, because that's where the great stories of Livingstons were all taking place. And I've never been there. Let's see what happens. And this is what I did basically all over the place, but mainly Australia, Asia, so Indonesia, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Japan, Hong Kong, and in Africa, all the countries that are between South Africa and Malawi. And then, of course, Europe as well.
So you're
a bit like a ping pong machine, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you're going from, you're being drawn. Are you going with what you feel inside? I feel drawn to this country, and you're going to country. And so how are you, I know you're hitchhiking, but how are you sort of paying for food and water and shelter, that kind of thing, as you're traveling around at that point? Are you savings or? Two things there. No, two things. So I managed to get my work, so basically creating graphics and creative stuff for TV shows or documentaries or writing. I managed to get that into a freelance job abroad. And every time when I go back to Europe or go back to Holland, I'll get... So what happens is that a lot of those companies that I work for, they go, I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. He's got an inspirational story. Yeah. So they want to, when I go back to Europe, they want to have me in the office just for the water cooler conversations, because they have proper water cooler conversations. But then when I left Europe again to go on whatever journey, and I would never know because I never really planned it, except for the documentaries and those things. Then I would have some work with me, because those companies knew that they will get good stories. So those people at those companies, actually, they were just supporting me. It was just personally, and I can do that. But I think that was 50%. The rest of the 50% is just work. It's just work where you are.
It's freelance.
You get to a horse farm. No. You get to a horse farm, you go to the horse farm, and you just look around and you start feeding the horses, you start working in the garden, and that will pay off. The owner of the horse farm will go, I don't know who he is, but he's working, here's your food.
Yeah.
And that's a simple thing. You don't even have to say or ask, like, hey, can I work for your farm? No, you just go into a farm and you just start working on the farm.
Wow.
And yeah, that's 50% of the time. Or redesigning logos, making websites for people that have like a travel lodge or anything. And you just make it, you give it, and you get your food or your stay. And that's 50% of it, 50%. Free rides, the same thing. What I do when I hitchhike, we talk. We talk with the driver or the family or whatever is going on there, whoever takes you on the ride. You talk, and I try to give as much value as I can for their journey while they have me in the car, so that they will be inspired. And I know that karma will pay me back that way, as long as my talk is not just small talk, but good talk about inspiring those people. Yeah, that's 50%. Absolutely.
You leave it with something more valuable than just as if you had cash to pay for a trip or a hitchhike. You give them something else in return.
That's the beauty. I've had hitchhikes in especially in Africa, and I will tell that story later. But I had a hitchhike which was a car that didn't have any doors, and we were all crammed up, and we were especially crammed up because otherwise you would fall out. and it was this massive dark black family, the ones I was supposed to be scared of. And but the big mama sitting in the middle was holding a massive cake. She was holding a massive cake, and we were all just kind of like holding that cake, and it was a birthday cake. So wait a second. I was not supposed to hitchhike because that's really dangerous, as people might kill you. Yeah, but we got a birthday cake we need to hold on to. Things become really weird there. So what we talk about is, we talk about life, we talk about, your son it's his birthday, tell me about your life, blah, 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 blah. And in the end of that ride, we get out of the car, and the weirdest thing that happens is that I wanted to thank them for the ride, but they thanked me for the ride. That is such an amazing thing, because then you know that you gave more value, that's what you just said, Tony, you gave more value to the ride than the ride was to me, actually.
Yeah, sure.
Well, actually, now it's in balance. It's perfectly in balance, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as you say, karma, it really is, isn't it? What you put out, you get back. And just trusting, really. I think a lot of it sounds like a lot of it is just trust. You know, you're getting in these cars and traveling around. But you're just trusting in humanity. You know, we're also... Yeah. We're all taught to be scared, aren't we, of a lot of these countries and places, but everyone's the same, really. But I just want to go into a couple of incidents that I do know about. So, going back to Australia and crossing the desert, could you go into a bit more about that? Because I know it's a similar story where you went into the desert, sort of feeling like this is what I think you said, was that feeling like, I'm going to cross this desert and I don't care what happens. You know, I'm going to cross it by myself. I don't know if I'm going to survive. And then there was an incident when you were crossing it where you thought you had died, in fact, and that was a point where you learned truly to live. So could you go deeper into that particular story? Yeah,
so that was the beauty of it, exactly like you say it. I went into the desert not caring whether I would survive or not, because it was just a choice of living or dying, basically. And as I said before, I would rather die in a desert than I would die in a house where the windows can't even open. Yeah, so, but then the weird, so I was kind of, it is actually kind of an aggressive approach. It's going full in. And it's kind of like, okay, so kill me then. Come on, do it then. I'm just going to go into the desert, and I can use a lot of swear words here, and I'll keep it down. But I was really shouting like that. I was shouting to God. Is that all you got? Come on, bring it on. Kill me then. No. So I will go into a desert. This is the easiest way to kill me now, because you can just get all the water away from me. or make me not find any water, and I'll be dead.
Yeah.
Right? So it's up to you now. Come on, it's up to you. And it was kind of like challenging God or whatever, the universe or whatever, or myself, to die. Because I didn't want to commit suicide. I wanted someone else to kill me. I wanted something else. I wanted to be the victim here of life. But then, halfway through, you didn't die. Yes, of course, I got a couple of, like I said before, two really extremely near-death experiences where I actually thought, this is it. And now there's this weird thing. So I actually thought I was going to die. I was preparing my deathbed or my tomb, as I said, and I thought I would not wake up the next morning. But I did wake up the next morning. And so there's a double thing going on there. There's a couple of things going on there. And one of the things is, I didn't die. Now I just have to continue. And so apparently what is happening here is that I went into a desert that was not going to kill me. This was not the solution. So I'm not going to die in this desert, so I just have to finish the job. I just have to get out of the desert on the other side.
That make you feel a bit, sorry, does that make you feel invincible to a degree, or?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, well, invincible, so I accepted the fact that I was gonna die. Because that was that night that I was actually thinking that I would die, and actually really thought I would not wake up. The most scary moment in my life, of course. But the next morning I woke up.
Because I was trying, Casper, what happened there? Why was it that you were on the verge of death, or you thought you were going to die? Did you lose your truck, or did you run out of water, or?
Two things. Yeah. No. So I managed to stay close to water. Yeah, I'm quite proud of that. How I managed to go from waterhole to waterhole, basically, and it's quite easy because the desert is quite dry. So when you see green, there's water. And these are the things I figured out during my journey. And just go, oh, there's green there. That's where we're going to camp. Yeah. It's kind of simple common sense that just got back. And this is also why the God couldn't kill me, because I was just going with simple common sense. And that worked better. I survived. But yeah, the two things that happened is that I made a mistake. Yes, I made a mistake. And I got lost in the desert. I walked away from my car, and I walked to the waterfall, where I just got my water and did my daily swim, and was staying there for a couple of days just to refill everything, and it's a beautiful spot. And I can't even say I took a wrong turn, so I was just walking. It's not even a wrong turn. It's just that suddenly you go, wait, where am I? I thought I would be with the big tree here now, and the big tree is not here. And this becomes kind of like when you wake up in a dream. Like you don't know where you are, but you don't know how you got where you are at that moment. This is really strange. I should not be here. Did I make a mistake? Did I take a left or a right turn? No, I didn't. It's almost like I was zapped out of my own reality into the unknown reality. And that moment was, everything around me looks exactly the same. And we're talking about thousands, because I've already been traveling for 2 months by then. So we are far into the desert. Now everything looks the same. And now it becomes really, really difficult. Can we solve this puzzle? Well, officially we can't. Officially, this means you're dead. This is the end. We all know that. Getting lost in a desert and not knowing where you are is the end. I have some footage of myself talking in the camera there and saying goodbyes. And I cannot watch that again, because the look in my own eyes is so pure of realizing the end. But I sat down under a rock and said, no, we can figure our way out again. We, as in by now, I was not talking as a me, but as a we, because We need to do this as a team now. All my voices in my head, God, universe, everything, the trees, the water, we are together now and we need to fix this. And it took a couple of hours, but I managed to find a way out. Then I found my own footprint in the sand of my own flip-flop. So I could trace that back.
It had to be yours.
I could trace that back to my car.
It had to be yours.
Well, there's no one else
exactly,
there.
Yeah.
There's no one else there. So you don't even have to check the profile. No, you know it's yours. You know it's yours. Now you just need to be really careful that you not start to walk around in circles. So I need to check the curve of the footprints to make sure that I was not going in circles, and then it will lead me back to my car. And from there on, I will be able to find dehydrated, absolutely dehydrated, because we're talking about hours here without water, in 50 degrees Celsius, walking around in a desert. It's really stupid, I know, but it had to happen. Then I found the water back and I jumped in and I was just screaming. And again I started screaming, is this all you got? I'm still alive. And one of my favorite things is what I shouted. I jumped into the water and I just shouted, I'm still alive. And literally, like in the movies, you can hear, I'm still alive, I'm still alive.
Echoing.
And then, that's just tears of joy. It was only that, by that joy, and maybe by the arrogance that I found my way out, I made a mistake. And I got bitten by a snake. And getting bitten by a snake in the Australian desert is not a really good plan. And so I could feel all the poison just going through my body. And I never felt anything like that because how would I know what that is? But my muscles started contracting and I was just thinking, how are you going to die from a snake bite? I mean, poison, how does that work? The poison is in my leg, it's not going to die. My leg might die, but I'm not.
Heart.
So I could feel my muscles contracting, and you know, and again, common sense works in here, survival of common sense. It's if your muscles start contracting, your heart is a muscle, so that will contract, that's how you're going to die.
Attack, yeah.
All right, now we know how we're going to die. Or we need to make sure that the poison or the venom is not going to reach the heart. So I lay down because I just wanted to go to sleep. So I lay down, put all kinds of stuff under my mattress so my head would be a little bit up so the blood will flow down instead of, just to make sure that the blood wouldn't go to my heart. Then I took an old t-shirt and I wound off my leg to make sure that it couldn't go up. But then I realized I was also cutting off the blood flow. So I would wake up the next morning with a dead leg. And how can I get through another 2,500-3,000 kilometers of desert not being able to drive the car because I only have one leg? And it's gonna rot. That's not gonna work. So I took off the t-shirt again. And then I was like, okay, so this is, I can't stop what's gonna happen now. And I've got a maximum of 6 hours, and then it will reach my heart. So I feel okay now, next to the fact that I have a lot of pain, and this is quite difficult, but I'm going to die in my sleep. So what do you do then? Well, okay, so it's all right, everything is okay, don't panic, everything is okay. You're just gonna die, no problem. So you lay down, you got your car in the middle of the desert, I've got a beautiful car, a beautiful bed in it, everything is gonna be okay, you're just gonna die. But wait a second, my mom is gonna, she's gonna say like, hey, where is he? And then some rangers will find me, or some helicopter crew will find me one day, and they will send pictures to my mom. And I was like, well, so, what? My car is a mess. I can't do that to my mom. So, and I'm not even wearing clean underwear. So I started to dress up. And then I was like, oh wait, there's some cigarettes next to the steering wheel, and no, that's not nice. So I started to clean up the car to make everything nice. So for my mom, when she would get the pictures, that she would be like, oh, at least his bed is tidy and his car is nice and tidy, right? And you don't realize that these are the thoughts in your head, but that makes sense at that moment. And then you go, okay, so then I lay down. And now we're going to lay down, we're going to fall asleep. Luckily, I had a lot of sleeping pills with me. I still had some sleeping pills from my previous episodes that I got from my psychiatrist. So I took all my sleeping pills. just to fall asleep and hopefully die peacefully in my sleep. And now you're going to lay down. So you lay down, and I lay down like this. Because, yeah, that's a little bit too much like a knight. I'm not a Knight Templar. I'm going to lay down like this. No, how are they going to find me? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is how they're going to find me. I'm going to be cool. No, see, this now suddenly becomes my tomb. This is how they're going to find me. Well, a proper tomb, and I think as myself as a good fighter and a good gentleman and a good leader in inspirational as I can be. So I deserve a proper tomb. So I went back out and I got all kinds of stones and I made a stone circle around my car. I made it as beautiful as I could make it. Until those sleeping pills started to kick in, and I was like, okay, this is the end. And I got back into my car, laid down, got my camera, and recorded the last message. Well, I couldn't record the last message because the moment when you start recording the last message and you talk to your mom going like, sorry mom, and sorry I did this, maybe I shouldn't have gone into the desert, you start to get adrenaline, and so your blood starts to go faster, and it will reach my heart, so I will die sooner. So I just left my camera there, ready to record. And I said to myself, the moment I will die, I will wake up. And then I'll record my own death, as in the best way I can. To say sorry and to say all the good things I can. But then, of course, as you know by now, I didn't die. I woke up the next morning.
I woke up. On this podcast.
Only... What's that, sorry?
That's why you're on this podcast now, yeah. You survived.
Absolutely. That's why I'm here. And that's the beauty of it. And of course, I can tell this story in a lot of details. But the one thing that you got to understand there is that I woke up the next morning. But I woke up in the middle of the desert. So I still didn't know whether I was alive or dead. That's the most important thing. I couldn't check whether I was alive or dead. So from now on, everything becomes absolutely relative. And that is the beauty. That's the absolute beauty. That's the thing I've learned there.
So how did you survive that then, Casper? Why didn't the venom finish you off?
A couple of possible answers there. It might have not been a king brown. It might have been a different snake. But...
So not venomous, perhaps?
Well, it was venomous.
Not as venomous.
It was venomous, but not as venomous, yes. It might have been.
Yeah.
And... So I can tell you the full story, but that's a way too long story. But the one thing that is really interesting, because what you ask now is, so the next morning I wake up and I'm not dead. So apparently it was not a king brown. It was not as venomous that it would kill me. But wait a second. Maybe it is like a virus and I will die in 6 weeks. Maybe I die in 3 weeks. Maybe I die in 3 hours. Maybe I die in 3 years. Okay, now it becomes really difficult. Maybe it's just going to be one day and go, over. So now I don't know anymore. Because the only thing I knew is if it was a king brown, which I thought it was, I would die within 6 hours. But if it was something else, I would die in... So wait a second, I will die at some point. That's the end point. And I didn't die at that moment, and for obvious reasons. Now... clear to me.
You didn't actually see the snake.
A lot of existential.
You didn't actually see the snake that bit you. You just started getting the symptoms of a snake bite, or did you feel the bite?
I definitely had. I definitely had the. So I definitely had the full.
Fangs.
The fang marks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The puncture wounds.
Yeah.
It was a
from
snake.
the fangs. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed. Before I noticed all the muscle contractions and all that, I just had like a burning pain on my leg. That was the first thing, or my ankle. And then I switched my light on and I was like, something bit me, and it was big. It's literally there's blood coming out. You go, oh shit, I fucked up. Yes. that's literally what you think here.
Well, I mean, that's an incredible story on its own. Sorry, Tony, but I'm sure we'll go into these much more of this as the podcast progresses, and we could just do a series of podcasts with
Absolutely.
Casper. But just for this one today, obviously Casper got his book as well. I mean, if anybody, we can put the link, around this, and people can read more into his adventures.
Yeah.
But just for this pod today, I just want to go into now where you are now. You're in Lombok in Indonesia. So what was it about Lombok in particular that you decided to settle there over anywhere else you'd been?
Not really any reason. Not really any reason. So when I travel slow. It's one of the most important things, I think, when you travel. Some people want to see the whole world, but I want to see the quality of the world. So it's quantity over quality, basically, there. So what I do is when I travel, I take 3 months somewhere in a little village. And I learn about the people, I learn about the culture, the language, and all the details of what they're doing. And so I travel really, really slow. And years ago, I ended up here in Lombok by coincidence, and I liked it. Then what happened last year is that I wanted to traveling is really nice, but it's also really, really tiring. And not having a base or not having your own home, basically, is quite difficult. So I stumbled upon a house on Bali, and it was cheap, and I could rent a house for a year for 2,000 euros. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. It's 2,000 euros for 1 year. That's the same as I would pay for 1 month in Amsterdam. So now I've got a house on Bali for a year. But in the end, I didn't really like Bali. It's amazing, of course, but my rent ended there, and I said, I'm just going to go back to Lombok. I feel all right here, and there's not really a reason. I just feel all right. It just feels good. It feels good. Right. The life here.
You feel at home there?
I feel at home. The life is simple. The people are simple, as in the life is simple and everything is relaxed.
The lifestyle's simple, yeah.
Sure. We don't have many problems. We don't have many worries. And I've still got like quite a high quality of products. So every morning I got a proper espresso, and I love my coffee. So I got my good espresso. I got a good breakfast. I got quite a high standard of life. Good internet as well, and a tropical environment. So, yeah, I'm actually, and because there's not much going on, literally there's not much going on, especially now, I have all the time, so I've got all the time, every minute I spend on my new book and on my new documentaries and on my new stories, or even on my old books, and I can spend my time so valuable here because there's no distractions, and there's nothing else to think about than just the simple life. And so I kind of ended up here. Yeah.
Let me just ask one final question then before Tony.
Yeah.
Tony has got a few questions as well, but let me go on now then to this now idea of making your own business, becoming an entrepreneur, and creating your own digital business to sustain yourself financially. So you're obviously working freelance, but was it the case? Why was it then you decided to create your own online business to become an entrepreneur?
Two things, two simple things there. So, no, three things actually, to be honest. So one is I always have been an entrepreneur. I've always been an inventor, coming up with new stuff, writing books, making documentaries, or inventing stuff, or started my own business. I'm a team player. I love to play, I would love to work together as a team. And I missed that a little bit as a solo traveler as well. But an entrepreneur is not much else than someone that says, I've got a plan and I'm going to go for it. So that was always within me. And then two things that actually forced me to go into, well, not forced, but you know what I mean there, that pushed me in there, or myself in there, is that I love making those journeys and I love making those amazing adventures and all that. But eventually, I would run out of money. I would run out of money, and I would be out of mind, out of heart for the companies that I was working for. A lot of companies wouldn't hire me because they would see that I was on a horseback in Africa, or I was doing this or that and that. And so they would not hire me because I was busy. And so I started to realize that So I had to go back to Europe all the time. I had to go back to Holland to just play pretend and sell stuff again to people that don't need the stuff, but go back into the Western society to get money to make my journeys. And it became more and more difficult. So in the beginning I could do it for 6 months, then I could do it for 4 months, I could do it for 3 months, 2 months. Now I can do it for a month, I think. I can't do it anymore, and it just doesn't feel right. So I had to take my destiny in my own hands there. I had to say, I need to find a new way of creating an income. And thinking about it, there's 2 things that I can do. So I can go back to Europe and I can help people sell their stuff and get a lot of money for it. That's all right. I work for the biggest companies. I work for the absolute biggest companies. If you see my list, it's all the massive brands on this planet. Or I've got a story in me about helping people, inspiring people. So what if I can create an online brand that actually generates a little bit of money? I don't need much, but a little bit of money to keep me surviving, to keep me exploring new worlds for you or for other people. Let me just walk out and I'll snap the picture and I'll explore the world. I just need a little bit of money, and I will give that back and inspire you. Or you as in the people that want to be inspired then. That were the main things for me to start this online business.
Odie, did you want to?
Like I said, I've got a huge long list of stuff that I'd like to go through, but I'm just conscious of the time today. So, as I said earlier on in the pod, I think we're going to revisit your story and come back and pick up some final points, because there's a lot I want to know more. Like, I've been reading your book, To the Border. Your journey through Thailand and the border. You won't see in any travel guides, as you call it, your tagline there. I've been thoroughly enjoying that, so I want to dive deep into that and some of the characters, the likes of Silent Man and Grandpa, and I want to know more about that. So I think we'll save that. Go on, sorry.
You start to love them then, right? That's the weirdest thing. That's for me one of the weirdest things. I hope you understand that as well. That I wrote that book just because it's just 6 days out of 7 years of traveling, but you can create such a bond with people. That is just amazing, and I love that as well. It's Silent Man and Grandpa.
When he starts welcoming his children, he's like, "What? You two are brothers?"
Yeah.
We've been travelling all this way, and suddenly you've never told me that you're actually siblings. Are you brothers to one another? You're related.
Who was the idiot there then? It was me not realizing who I was actually traveling with. I don't even know their names. That's why I call them Silent Man and Fireman, because I don't know their names.
The Fireman's the cousin.
Apparently he is. Don't spoil the whole book there.
Sorry. Like I said, I think we'll come back to that subject more in another pod, because there's we could do a whole pod on that book alone. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying it so far.
Let me get Matt.
So I think we'll finish up with some fun bits and about your why as well. So tell me more about the Cambodian obstacle run.
Oh no, you've been reading that?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just thinking about that.
And your crusade to be an Olympian.
Wait a second. Was that the the one I started running in Cambodia again?
Yeah. Getting fit.
Yeah.
Giving up the cigarettes.
Trying to get fit. Yeah. So one of the weird things is that so I used to love sports my whole life. When I grew up, I used to play quite high levels in all kinds of sports. In my school, how do you call those things? The school activities. I would definitely be in the top 3, like athletics, in javelin and all that, and I love sports my whole life. All those things, and that was even an expectation from my school and from my family, going like, he's got it, and I always had that. But then when I started traveling, so one of the biggest problems, and so you've read The Obstacle Run, it's like after, when you live here, it's too hot. It's too hot to even walk.
No
you can't just
runs.
Walk. It's not, no one does that. You hang in a hammock and you chill out. So I was missing that, and so still now, I promise you, I've got my running shoes. But I'll tell you a little one I was thinking about today. So I've got my running shoes, I've got my cap, right? I've got my nice proper T-shirt, my running shirt. Yeah, got my whole outfit. Yeah. So what I did, I go out and I started running. Do you know what the first thing what happened was? Someone going, "Hey, taxi!" It's like.
Taxi?
Taxi? And it's like,
Every time you run, is it?
No, I'm trying to... Yeah, you're trying to get there. You can also go in a taxi. It's like, what?
Oh, I see.
You crazy fool. What are you doing running?
What are you doing? Need a taxi? It's so far away from everything. So yes, I tried to start running when I was in Cambodia, and it went absolutely awfully wrong. I was dying on the street, but I was having so much fun with it, because what are you doing, you crazy white man? You can't do that. And of course I've got that that's my favorite thing. Of course I always say, like, yeah, I'm drinking too much beer and I'm smoking too many cigarettes, but yeah, hey, that's life. Go for a run, try to get it, and that's what I wrote a little piece about.
And maybe you'll make the Olympic team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna definitely gonna make it, because there's gonna be a special team for people here in Asia smoking and drinking, but that's what we all do. And then running 100 meters with your beer and your cigarette in the bloody hot heat. Come on. Everyone's gonna sit down and go, I'm gonna take a taxi.
Sod the gold medal. I'll just jump in an air-conditioned cab instead.
Yeah, please. Have you got AC? No? Taxi, next.
Next. Come on.
It is like that, but I try. Okay, like I said, I try to stay fit a little bit, but I'm having the joke there as well. Yeah.
No, I did enjoy that story. It did make me tickle. It tickled me, I have to say. Right, a couple of other things. Obviously, you do a lot of tutorials. You're a great mentor, great teacher.
Thank you.
But one thing that stands through all your videos that you do for the community, and it's wonderful value that you provide for everyone. You've got a lot of experience in media and music and so on and so forth. But there's a common theme that runs through all that, and that's Tutorial Beach, that's been now come to be known as. And one of your catchphrases as well in one of your videos you've done is Hoppa!
Hoppa!
So just tell us a little bit about those things, about how Tutorial Beach and your catchphrase came around.
Well, so hoppa is basically a thing that it's a Dutch saying. It's a Dutch thing to say it. When you finish something, you say hoppa. And one of the things it is quite interesting how that came about is that I was talking to Roelof, and there's this thing that, so my first language, so my mother tongue is Dutch, but my first language is English. But there's one thing that I sometimes miss, and that's Dutch humor, and that is, I cannot explain this in English, of course, but that's why it's Dutch humor, and this is why I miss it. It's the way that we can say some certain words, and that we just go like, yeah, I know what you mean. It's not even slang. It's such a strange thing. So when I was talking to Roelof, and it was one of the first times that I was actually talking to someone in Dutch again, and so I started saying all those things that I remember, like oppa. And it's kind of like, hey, chup, 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 oppa. And we can say that with kind of like...
You knew what you meant. Yeah.
It's a really arrogant thing to say. You go, I did it, hoppa. But it's the self humor in there again. So, and then Roelof and I, we just went like, you know what? I said to Roelof, we're going to introduce this to the tribe. We're going to do everything with hoppa right now, because if you look at what we're doing, if you look at what we all are doing within this tribe, the things we're learning, we're making a website, we're doing the disclaimers, we're making the tutorial, bum 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 bum. We're all doing hoppa. The morning you wake up, you don't know what you're doing. At the end of the day, you got yourself a website. And then you might think like, or you can think, hoppa, just did that, hoppa. And yeah, so Tutorial Beach, of course, is just Tutorial Beach because that's the beach where I record all my tutorials. And I love to give places names. I love to give every place. There's a road up here, from here to the north, and every corner has got a name. We got the blue corner, we got the snake corner, we got banana corner. Every corner has got a name. And I just love that. It's making a circuit out of it and out of life.
I love it, mate. Everyone loves Tutorial Beach. Just that backdrop, the sea, the waves crashing behind you, the palm trees. It's that tropical vista that you have on Tutorial Beach.
I'll give you one extra thingy there, just one extra thingy for now.
Yeah,
it's the only place that's still open at the beach.
Oh, wow.
Every place, everything is in lockdown. The whole town is in lockdown. Only my little bar. And I can tell you, I'm the only guest every day.
Exclusive.
But they stay open and there's no more staff. The owner is back in now and they just stay open because we got a mutual understanding there. Tutorial Beach is Tutorial Beach. They know he's working, he's changing the world. He needs a beer.
It's open for business. Yeah.
And it's open for business. And I give them a 5,000 extra, which is 6 cents. But there you go. And so we stay open. It's a mutual understanding there. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. Love to. I hope to visit one day, Mark?
Oh yeah,
go
definitely.
see it for ourselves.
I'd love to.
Right then, Casper.
Yeah, go on. We want the wide game. We want the wide game.
Yeah. So the why game. We're going to finish off with this, Casper. Why do you
We're going to do the wide
start an
game?
online business?
Wide game. We're going
Why do you?
We try and go
Casper
5
Boermans?
layers. Try and go 5 layers.
Yeah, come on.
If you don't do 3,
Level 1.
fair enough.
Bring it on.
But
Go.
this is where we find out. We find out what you're really about.
Okay, bring it on.
Right. Go on then. Why do you want to start an online business?
My first why is because I want to have a self-sufficient passive income.
Why?
That's my first why. Why?
Okay.
Because I can travel more and not have to do an hour work for an hour invoice. So I can sell my time, I can invest my time more efficiently before then create the business, and then I have the freedom and something in the back will sell and it will create an income. Same as point 1 basically, but yeah.
Don't go around in circles though, be careful.
Don't do it.
No. I will not fail. Come on.
Come on. All right. Why? Level 3.
I guess tough.
Number 3. There we go. Okay, so why? I need to go to the toilet.
Great. Why do you want freedom?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah. 2 things again. One of the things is that I just want to live the freedom life that I can live. And I've discovered that I can live. Number 2 is that I noticed that I noticed that the only thing that is preventing me from living the best life is money. And it's even quite personal, is that I cannot sleep if I have financial troubles. I cannot sleep. I literally don't eat. I literally don't sleep. I can have 2, 3, 4 days without sleeping or eating because I don't have any money and I don't know what's going to go on. And that is such a self-destructive moment. It's so hard to get through that I think I need to make sure that I've got a steady income. Just so that's for myself as well, just for my own health and for my own personal and mental health and my personal health. But the second thing is that what I realized is when I got the money and I don't have those worries that are distracting me, I can actually be of a good benefit for this world. I can share my stories, and I can spend my time, instead of spending my time for making money, if I do this clever, and I invest my time now, so I get a return of investment later, I can use my time to help people, and to help other people, and inspire them to live a good life.
Yeah, and I think that is, we can go, that essentially then is your real, I think that's your real cause with this, isn't it? To help others. I'm the same. I have a deep call to help others.
I can, of course, from there on go into 7, 6, 7, 8
why
more
do you want
whys.
to help others?
But why do you want to help others? La, 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 la. How do you want to help others? La, la, la. But that is the practical part.
Yeah, you can go deep.
And that's been evident with you from the time I've known you, and I said it earlier on in the pod, is you're
Did I
an
make
obvious
it?
teacher.
Wait a second. Did I make it?
Was that level 3 or 4?
I think there's one more level, but I think that is the truth of it.
That's the essence.
Well, the thing is, you go down into why, because what you're saying is basically, essentially, is I want to feel this way instead of feeling this way. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to a feeling that you're looking for, and then why do you want to feel good instead of bad, And it gets quite like philosophical then when you go into the deeper layers. But I think really the truth of it, and what all you really need to get down to is the cause, which is helping others. Really, I think.
In the end, absolutely.
Which I think we all have that in common. I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like I said, it's evident with you, Casper. I said it earlier, mentioned it earlier on in the podcast. That you're a natural teacher, you're a natural mentor. That it's ingrained in you. It's obvious that you're there and you want to educate and help people and share your knowledge and your wisdom. And you're a sage guy, and you've got a lot of experiences, skills that you want to pass on to people, and I think that's beautiful. Whether it's young children, like my daughter, you spend time trying to educate her on music and orchestra, and you're such a polymath of and so erudite about all manner of subjects.
I mean, that's the thing. The world is so extremely beautiful. There's so many things that are beautiful. I mean, just listening to a writer. So one of the things that is so fascinating for me is that listening to an orchestra, if you know what the orchestra is doing, it's absolutely beautiful. Watching a forest, knowing what the forest is doing. I was just listening to a podcast the other day about the coral reefs. It's mind-blowing. It's beautiful, and that's what I try to open people's eyes and minds on. Like, relax and look at the beauty, because it is. But most of the time, people can't see the beauty because they don't know the beauty. Like I said before, your daughter never heard about an orchestra. Well, let me tell you about the orchestra then, and you're going to love it. It's amazing. It's fascinating. And that's me coming out there. It's like, I'm so fascinated by all those things. And I want to share that. I want to share that with everyone who can or wants to hear about that or learn something about that. Absolutely, yeah.
It's definitely you at your core, is that you're just one of life's teachers.
I think that's where you'll progress into as well as with your own business, your own brand you're producing. I can see you being more of I don't know whether coach or mentor is the right word, teacher, but I think I got a feeling you'll perhaps progress down that route within the community that we're in now. You've already made steps in that direction.
That is actually one of the reasons, that's one of the whys that I just skipped for now. But one of my main whys was that I started to realize that what I have learned during my travels, I'm so grateful for it. And I know that I'm so humble about it. I will never brag about it because it just happened to me. And I'm so grateful for learning all those things. And then knowing all those things, it is, whether it's like philosophical things or spiritual things or just thoughts or things that happened, stories, or it would be a waste if I wouldn't pass this on. It would be, why would the universe give me all this information and all those beautiful things and then not give me the opportunity to pass it on?
Yeah.
And so I noticed that the universe was not really giving me the possibility to pass it on because of the time frame that we're in. I mean, people are listening to Justin Bieber's and selfies on Instagram. That's what we want, and I'm not that kind of guy. So I had to learn to find. I want to learn to find my audience. I want to learn to market my own brand, and this is one of the reasons why I do the whole course, and this is why I try to start my online business at the moment and try to learn how to get the message, how to get the information that I got to the right people, because I think it's worth it.
As they're out there, you just got to find them, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, this is something I talked about, wasn't it? But this, I think, is a great platform to start doing that, isn't it? You know, a podcast, and so it's something I think we've all had in the back of our minds at different points. But that's why I think we're all excited about this. You know, coming at just the right time for all of us, where we're ready to share our ideas, our thoughts, you know, and hopefully reach and help others as well.
Absolutely.
But that's fantastic. Thank you, Casper. We'll call that part one, shall we? I don't know how many parts there'll be, but
we'll be back to see Mr. Boermans again. Don't worry about that, guys. There's too much there not to expose out. But yeah, thank you, Casper. You've been awesome today. Really appreciate your time.
Same.
And looking forward to, let's say, next week and our first real guest outside of the three Amigos. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening and watching. Hope you've enjoyed that. And we'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye for now.
Cheers.
Adios.
Adios.
You have been listening to
The Three Amigos.
Hey there, hope you've really enjoyed listening or watching to the conversation today. And as promised, we have all the links to the topics discussed in the description below and also on our website.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to hit that subscribe button or follow the link to our brand new website where you can sign up to our weekly newsletter.
Thank you for watching or listening. We hope you got something good out of it. If you've got any interesting topics you'd like us to discuss or any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And that's it. See you in the next pod. Adios.
Cheers.